These are just a few of my personal holy grail fragrances within my collection. And I guess there's a couple different ways you could look at something like this topic, you know, when it comes to maybe the car world or collecting watches. Generally, the Grail piece is that one vehicle or watch that you work for very hard and a lot of times have to save up for because it's super, super expensive. And sure, there are some fragrances out there that are really expensive, you know, nearing $1,000 or whatever, and more, you know. And I have a few of those that are kind of up there towards that $1,000 mark, pretty close. And I'll be honest with you guys, that doesn't really do it for me. That's not what I strive for. A lot of what you're going to see in this video and a lot of what I think of when it comes to my holy grail scents are just fragrances that I really, really love, and a lot of them are designers or just on the more affordable end of things. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy there between something like, you know, collecting fragrances and some other things which can get much more expensive. I guess maybe I could do a video going over some of the most expensive scents that I have in my collection and kind of give you my honest thoughts on them if I really think they're worth that or not. But that's not really what this is. And so to me, what this video is all about is choosing some of my very favorite fragrances. And for me, it feels like these were catered directly to me, which obviously never will happen. You know, none of these brands know who I am and what I like, but these relate and connect to what I look for in colognes so much that it just feels that way. These are right at home. I love them very much. Maybe it'll be interesting for you to see what I would choose for a video like this. So I'll drop links down below. A couple of these are a little bit rare and hard to find. That happens. It sucks. If you get on my mailing list and my texting list, I will get you hooked up anytime they come into stock. Rare, discontinued, hard to find scents. Just great deals in general. I do notify you. Makes it very easy, very simple, stress-free. Alrighty, let's get things kicked off with L'Homme Ideal Extreme by Guerlain. This is one of my all-time favorites. First things first, it's my favorite of the entire line. They have quite a few flankers at this point. This is number one to me, my very favorite. Next up will be the Eau de Parfum. Next up after that, probably Platine Privé, the summer version one, because it's out now and you can buy it. And that's kind of just my top three. But this one is at the number one spot and has been ever since I first got my hands on it. It's got plum, tobacco, and of course almond. Smells fantastic. It's fruity. It's a little bit dusty, powdery, sweet, rich, and slightly syrupy from the plum tobacco mixture in particular. Very unique, beautiful creation. There's something special about this one. You know, I don't know what it is. It's just how everything comes together and plays out. I couldn't think of anything better. I think they did a phenomenal job with this one. When it comes to fall and winter time, this one is going to be in high rotation as per usual. I've got backup bottles of this one. I recommend, if you like this, to maybe do the same because you never know what the future holds for this and for a lot of fragrances out there. Next up, we have MANCERA Tonka Cola, a little bit of a newer release, but what I like so much about this is it takes a somewhat similar approach to another popular niche product, ROJA Parfum's Enigma or Creation E. Now, in terms of scent itself, they are vastly different. However, you can tell that they were trying to accomplish a similar thing that the ROJA does. So the differences are going to be that this one isn't using a ton of tobacco. It doesn't even really have a boozy accord in here necessarily. It has cherry, I believe, some Coca-Cola. It's an interesting approach on this DNA. It still has that upscale kind of classy smell, still is rich. It's got a cinnamon spiciness to it also. It just, again, it doesn't quite have the same type of elegance that the ROJA does. I think it's going to be different scents for different situations and a variety of different people. Just depends on what you like. But for me, I love the ROJA Parfum's Enigma, DNA, Creation E, whatever you want to call it. I love that smell. And this one is just a nice twist on something like that. It has that fizzy cola smell, that sweetness, that gourmand aspect, with beast mode performance at a much more affordable price. 120 mil you can usually get for, I don't know, right around $100 at discounters. Very reasonable. Next up, we have more of a basic one, I guess you could say, but I've had this in my collection for years, and it's kind of one of the building blocks, one of the pieces of foundation of my collection. You know, I've had it for that long. Not only that, it also helped me to branch out and start to like different things. When I was building up my collection, I only wanted aquatics and fresh scents. I don't know why. It's what I started with, and I just wanted to keep the ball rolling. I didn't really want to branch out necessarily and try other things that were different styles or varieties just yet. But ultimately, I ended up doing so, and this was one of the scents to help me break out of that aquatic, obsession, and it's Dolce & Gabbana The One. This is one of the best men's tobacco amber date night scents created, period, hands down. One of the best date night scents ever. And of course, it started with the One EDT, and it's great as well. I would take the EDP over the EDT. The price difference is not a lot, and this is just the way to go. And to this day, I absolutely admire this scent so much. I love it. It's great. It's one of my favorites to wear in the evening, just kind of winding down at night. It's very comforting. It's relaxing. It's mysterious and sexy at the same time. I think it can suit a lot of different occasions. If you're going to work, you could wear this to work. It's not a big deal. It's not going to be a misfit. It's not going to stand out in a negative way. It has that upscale classiness. If you're going on a date, one of the best options. There's just a lot of things you can do with it. But for me, it is an absolutely beautiful scent. It's a masterpiece. It's about $60 online at discounters for 100 ml. And as you can probably tell, I have worn through it over the years, and that's probably never going to stop either. Another deal where I have backup bottles and all that. The bottles do look kind of lame when you can't see the level, because the actual liquid itself gives it that, nice rich color, but that's all part of it. Speaking of ROJA, I was name dropping them a little bit ago, and I do have a ROJA in here. It's ELYSIUM. So, I love this stuff, and that's something that I've been criticized on over the years, probably for hyping it up. I just really like it, and I bought it first initially, and it was one of my first really expensive niche purchases. I bought some creeds and stuff up until that point, and they're expensive, but I wasn't really paying all that much for the creeds. This was a pretty big step into a pretty luxurious brand, and so I went for it and loved it. Actually, I had a sample of it first initially, a tiny sample, and loved it there, and then went ahead and got a bottle. And this is that original bottle that I purchased years back. It's almost empty, and it's also scratched to the heavens. I mean, it is beat to death. I don't know if you could see that or not. I used to record my videos outside. OGs will remember that, and so a lot of times I would just shove some stuff in a bag, and I would have to carry everything outside, and that's part of the result here is scratches. But that's fine. It doesn't matter. It still wears just the same, and I have several more bottles. They did actually send me a bottle of this even after I already had some, and so I've got 3 bottles of the Parfum cologne, and I have 2 of the pure parfums. Both of those I did purchase myself. It's kind of unnecessary, but again, that just shows that I really do love this, and I'm not just trying to randomly hype it up. Yeah, it's blue fragrance inspired. You get a lot of vetiver, blackcurrant, lemon, bergamot, lime, all of that stuff. A ton of citrus, a ton of woods, a ton of fruits as well, and a little bit of an ambergris, ambroxan twist in the dry down. Maybe it's the niche version of Bleu de Chanel, if you could kind of quantify it in that way, but I also want to say that it does smell entirely different than Bleu de Chanel. So, it just depends on how you want to look at it, but it is super versatile. It's actually a great performer too, even in the Parfum cologne. Great compliment puller. I love this stuff. I wear it all the time in the summer. It works perfectly for me. So this is one of those really hard to find deals here, and I usually try not to feature this one all that often because it is hard to get. However, this is the type of video where I feel like I shouldn't exclude things because of that when it's more of a personal video. This is a personal video. It's DHP, DIOR Homme Parfum. this is an absolute gem, an absolute masterpiece. This is my first ever bottle here, the 75 ml, and I love it. I love everything about it. I remember blind buying this one, and as it was being shipped to me, I was thinking that I made a grave mistake. I really did not think I was going to like it that much. I don't know why I bought it. I think it's because even at that time, it was starting to get to where like, ooh, it might be getting discontinued or something might be happening. I decided to pull the trigger on it, and when I got it in, I was thoroughly impressed and very pleasantly surprised. Pretty much fell in love with it at first sniff. So it has the iris DNA, but a lot of leather, a little bit of rose, and a little touch of oud. Now the rose oud is not all that strong, but it is present, but you do get a lot of that leather and iris mixture. It's rich, it's sweet, it's strong, and what's interesting is when you smell it off the dry down, off the atomizer like this, it almost has like a raspberry smell to it. Very interesting. Beautiful scent. Now, just a couple days back, 300 plus units of this came into stock. I sent out an email and a text, and it was up for over an hour. You guys were able to scoop them up before they sold out. I recommend being on the mailing list because these do pop up more often than you think, but they do go pretty quick. Make sure you're on the lookout if you do want a bottle, and I do highly recommend it. This is one of those scents where, yes, it's a risky blind buy in terms of scent. You know, it's not going to be for everybody. But it's one of the few where you could get your money right back out of it and then some if you didn't like it. You know, if you open it up, you spray it, you hate it, you could sell it online, and I promise you there's going to be a market for it. And you just might end up making a couple bucks because there are people who really want to get this stuff and they don't want to wait around. So it's safe in that instance, but that's the only way it's safe. Other than that, you know, maybe you can find a sample without paying an arm and a leg, but I doubt it. Just know what you're getting yourself into, but it is worth it if you do have a general idea of what you like. For me, this is the pinnacle of DIOR Homme. You know, it is my favorite, right there next to DIOR Homme Intense. Those two are must-haves. And we're going to finish this video with another obvious one, and you know, maybe it's boring, maybe it's lame, whatever, but it's another scent that changed the trajectory of my collection, in my opinion. It's another one that I got early on after seeing the hype, and you'll know what I'm talking about in a minute. And it opened my eyes up to what else is out there, and it really pushed me to continue to broaden my horizons and try new things and just experiment with different types of scents. It's La Nuit de l'Homme. It is the cardamom lavender bomb that we all know, and some of us love, some of us maybe not so much. For me, it's an absolute love. To me, it's a masterpiece. It is a perfect scent. This, again, was my first bottle. I did sample it first, ended up liking it, and I just went online, bought the 200. Since then, I have gone through my collector phase and bought some 4-digit first ever batch bottles and some other ones as well, all of that fun stuff. So regardless, I have La Nuit de l'Homme to last me a lifetime, and I'm glad because it's another one that I love to wear in the evenings. It just smells absolutely incredible, and after all, it does translate to something roughly along the lines of the Night of the Man, so it makes sense. And yeah, I love it. It's amazing. I got this one in, I sampled it, I tried it, I bought it, whatever, and from there I was hooked on trying these sweeter, spicier scents, and it just snowballed from there. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Some of my very favorite Holy Grail scents. While not all of these are outrageously expensive, and in fact, I guess I would say none of these are outrageously expensive, there's some niche out there that puts these to shame in terms of its pricing, but these are grails in the sense of the scent itself fitting me directly in a way, and I can connect with these in a way that just feels right. Links will be down below. Deals will be going out to my mailing list and texting list. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.